maintain flight level 220 on 3412.
Center road at 885 at 15.5 for 17,000.
My name is Darren Roberts. You shouldn't be hearing my voice right now. I should be dead.
Line 380 road at 885.
2452 line 66.
I used every stealth technique I'd ever learned from 80s and 90s action movies to get as close as I could to that village without being seen. But as I got closer and closer, I realized something. Something peculiar. There was no one guarding the entire perimeter. Not on the roads, not in the watchtowers. Why did they even have those watchtowers? I was able to sneak right up inside the village for a closer look. I noticed they had a dock and several buildings. Well, more like rusty tin sheds. One of those I was able to enter and have a look around. There are plenty of tools inside and junk, but nothing I could use. No food. While it was obvious that there was no one guarding these buildings, it also looked as if people had been there recently. I knew I couldn't get too comfortable snooping around. I had to stay hidden. At one point, I decided that I needed a better vantage point. I had to crawl up into one of those watchtowers. I just had to see for myself. I had to see the entire area and see what I was working with. Someone had recently been here. What kind of place is this? At least I could see the entire island. But where do I go next? What am I trying to find out here? Building after building, I searched around. Every door I came across was locked, which I thought was odd considering the lack of security everywhere else. But I knew that I needed to get inside one of these structures. Past the buildings, I came across a large field that looked to be growing some sort of crop. Now, I may be a straight-laced guy, but I know a marijuana plant when I see one. And there were hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of them out in that field. So what, I crash landed in some South American drug cartel island? Great, just my luck. But still, why wasn't anyone guarding it? You'd think millions and millions of dollars worth of pot plants would be guarded by a small army. Where where was everyone? By the time night fell, it was a bit easier to get around. I could give my knees a rest and not crouch walk everywhere, but while I could hide more easily, it also meant that others could hide just as easily. So I had to keep my eyes peeled. I came across a strange scene at one point during the night. It looked to be some sort of, I don't know, a party or a dance area. Now, there was no music playing, but some kind of disco ball was flashing all these lights everywhere from above what I guess was the dance floor. And it was like a beacon to me. It was just pulling me in. Even though I felt like it was probably some sort of trap, I just couldn't resist checking this place out closer. It was certainly strange that all the lights would still be on and flashing everywhere, but what I thought was the strangest out of this whole little alcove here was the fact that the bonfires were still lit. If these bonfires were still lit, wouldn't that mean that there are people who were just there? I mean, those things can't burn for hours and hours. It's like they were just here. Maybe within the last hour or so. I was so confused. But while I tried to wrap my exhausted brain around all of this, I spotted the most wonderful thing ever. A bar. I went straight for the first drink cup I could find in front of me. I didn't care what was in it. Picked it up, smelled it, and you know what it smelled like? It smelled like aged whiskey. It was amazing. That first drink, after so long without it, oh, that was such great whiskey. I don't know if it was the best I've ever had, but it sure tasted like it. But you know what? It was something else that really grabbed me. It was that food. I found hamburgers, I found hot dogs, and these things were not stale or rotten. I actually ate so much that I made myself sick, and I passed out right there on the wooden floor. Sure, it wasn't my proudest moment, but I needed that food and I needed that rest. And hell, I needed that whiskey. The next morning I woke up with the worst food hangover I'd ever had, but I'm not really complaining. It was still amazing. I headed out to explore more of the island, and I eventually came upon another checkpoint area with a guard shack. This one was actually unlocked though. So I just walked right in and there it was. Right on the desk. There's a computer. It's just on. It's like as if someone was just recently on it. Unfortunately, I couldn't read a word of the Spanish on the screen, and when I tried to navigate to some sort of web interface, I discovered that the network was only local. The computer seemed to be connected to others on the island, but I couldn't reach anything outside of that. Was another dead end. At this point, I was tired of sneaking around. If I didn't find anyone yet, I was probably not going to at all. I used every bit of my renewed energy to run around that island. Just every spot I could think of. I needed to find someone. I probably wouldn't even mind it if I ran into someone who wanted to kill me, as long as it was a human being that could assure me that I hadn't completely lost my mind. Still, there was no one. No one. Not one person. I continued down the widest road that I could find in hopes of running into some sort of main building or headquarters. Maybe everyone was gathered up for a meeting or something. I mean, drug dealers had meetings too, right? And my plan worked. I found a mansion that was well guarded. It had gates all around it and a fence and just barbed wire all over it. And I knew I had to get in there. I figured this was it. This was the end game for me. This was the end boss. Unfortunately, the door on this one was locked, so I couldn't get in. But I did notice a World War II style Jeep sitting out front. Now, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about driving that right straight through the gate, but I figured, I don't know, there might still be people out there looking for me or looking to kill me. Part of me still thought that there were people around who might start shooting at me just at any moment. I had a weird feeling that I was being watched. So I needed to find a new way into that mansion. I felt like someone inside would point me in the right direction. As I approached, I also noticed a beautiful old car sitting out front. The thing looked like it was, I don't know, from the 30s or 40s, and it still sparkled like the day it was new. I imagined that it was probably the cartel leader's car, but what did that mean? Did that mean he was home? I mean, this probably was his mansion, but was he actually inside? Maybe he was quietly relaxing in his living room? I don't know, maybe he was reading a book or having brunch? Surely he had to be well guarded, right? Were all of the guards inside this giant castle? The place, it had these thick walls built all around it with loops of razor wire covering the top. There was no possible way I could sneak in. And of course, all the doors were locked. So I snuck around the entire perimeter looking for some, I don't know, low-hanging vines or something I could climb up on, or some kind of sign, and there was nothing until I did find a section of the fence that was broken. And I thought if I can just find something to climb up on, I could clear that wall and I could get inside and find out what is in there. I knew what I had to do.